day after Thanksgiving, often referred to as Black Friday. As your body recovers from overeating turkey and all your favorite side dishes, your employer is probably worrying about how they're going to get you engaged and ready to finish strong and hit annual goals for what has been a very challenging 2020. It turns out the answer to employee engagement in 2020 might actually be, well, more turkey for employees. In this edition of FinTech Friday, a new approach to employee engagement during the pandemic. Employer-provided meal cards. I'm Silvio Tavares here in San Francisco on November 27th, and this is FinTech Friday, brought to you by CardLinx. It's great to be with you. It is the day after Thanksgiving, and for those of us in the U.S., we're recovering from our turkey hangover and getting ready to do some serious online shopping for Christmas presents. It is Black Friday after all. And as you first heard here on the show back at the end of October, contrary to conventional wisdom, holiday retail spending is expected to surpass last year and grow by about 5% despite the pandemic. But all is not completely well because the pandemic has had a really negative impact on other areas of commerce. One key space where the long pandemic is taking its toll is in the area of employee satisfaction. Numerous recently published studies show that employees are increasingly feeling demoralized working from home, and many are feeling detached from work colleagues and the company that employs them. In short, many workforce participants feel increasingly disengaged and very unhappy. Companies have realized this and have attempted to remedy the situation with, awkward online social hours and other innovative but rather forced approaches. Many of these don't seem to work well at all. But it turns out that one of the best ways to engage employees right now is based on one of the most successful fintech technologies, debit cards. See, employers in the US are discovering that a really good way to reconnect with employees working from home is to offer them a regular free meal, or more precisely, offering them a debit card funded by the employer that the employee can use to buy themselves a free lunch, coffee, or even dinner, often delivered right at home. Now, how is that for a perk? This free meal perk or meal ticket has been in wide use around the world in Europe, Africa, and Latin America for decades. But more recently, it's starting to take hold in the US and Silicon Valley as employers seek to re-engage with and express compassion for their employees. Our guest today on the show is Scott Burke, an executive with Edenred. It's a $1 billion plus revenue company based in Paris, France, and they provide these debit card meal ticket programs for employers. We'll learn how the secret path to employee satisfaction may run right through our stomachs. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Good, Silvio. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Scott, where are you today?
I'm calling from Acton, Massachusetts.
Excellent. Massachusetts, it's a beautiful time of year there. The leaves have fallen. It's starting to get cold. It's actually one of my favorite times of the year. I actually grew up in the Boston area. Scott, you work with Edenred and you're Director of Innovation. And Edenred helps companies engage and reward their employees. Right now, there's so many distractions for employees from the pandemic to the election to protests about racial injustice. What are some of the biggest challenges that companies have in engaging their employees right now during the pandemic?
Oh, you said it, Silvio. Focusing on employee engagement and resilience have arguably never been more important than they are today. So, prior to 2020, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported about 8% of the U.S. workforce was regularly working from home. So estimates now are placing that percentage of employees working from home close to 42%. I know that might sound a little bit low, actually, kind of given the way things are, but in fact, there are a lot of people still out there working, going to work. But still, the majority, or a good portion, right, are working from home. So the fact of the matter is that when you're working from home, it can leave you feeling isolated and unattached from your work and your company. So keeping your workforce engaged while maintaining a mandatory work from home model has proven really difficult for a lot of businesses. And now we're starting to see companies with a renewed focus on demonstrating a real gratitude and compassion for their teams, starting with those employees who might still be on site right now. So let's face it, being able to work from home, it's a privilege. And until we have a choice again, employee engagement is going to be especially challenging. So we think that the meal card program is a phenomenal way to improve that engagement level.
Yeah, I mean, I really focused on one key word you said, which is compassion. It just seems like this is a time for compassion for, your fellow human beings, but also as an employer, you want to make sure that you're compassionate to all the stress and challenges that employees face when they're working from home, things like childcare, concern about, just keeping your home secure and safe. Can you tell me how your meal ticket program works? Like, how does it actually work, both from the employer perspective and from the employee perspective?
Sure. So the core concept of the program is its target spending. So it's this ability to direct funds to a specific purpose, in this case, food. And employers are providing a benefit that they can control just how it's used. And the program can be customized to the needs of each employer. And in general, employees receive basically a debit card, which is funded usually monthly by their employers. So in most cases, it's a subsidy. And then these debit cards are restricted to be used at restaurants, or the employer can also be expanded to grocery stores too. So we have a few that do the grocery stores. We provide utilization statistics to employers. They get an idea of where these cards are being spent, what the average dollar amount is, what percentage of the benefits given are being spent. And then employees can opt in or out of the program using our mobile app. So it's quite easy. And then we also have some unique features too with Anytime Pay, which is a new service that we've added that allows employees to instantly add more funds to their ticket restaurant card from their next paycheck.
Historically, here in Silicon Valley, many companies express this sort of compassion and support for their employees by having elaborate and high quality employer provided cafeterias and restaurants on premises at their corporate campuses. Right. It's been one of the huge, great employee perks for working in Silicon Valley. How are those companies providing meal benefits now, since most employees now are actually working remotely from home?
So we've seen a ton of interest coming out of Silicon Valley for the benefit. Honestly, it's just a wonderful way to celebrate your employees and your local eateries. I know some just aren't doing anything, but for those employers in Silicon Valley that are, they're getting an opportunity to provide something for their employees that it's quite simple, but it's this sincere option of being able to convey the sense of compassion for what's going on in their lives right now. And honestly, the other piece of it too is this opportunity to celebrate local eateries. There's a ton of options to enjoy delicious and nutritious cuisine in the Valley. And there's no better time than right now to give them your business, right? So I got to tell you, the other thing about it too is that for those clients that have signed up for it, I've never seen higher participation rates for a benefit. Honestly, I've been doing this for 11 years now, and we're seeing participation rates in excess of 96%. So these are our actual employees that have the card and are using it on a regular basis. And the other piece of it too that I know that it's working essentially, right, is that on those few opportunities that we do have the chance to engage with an employee about the benefit, they're overly thankful and gracious. Like they're literally coming back to us and going out of the way to tell us, thank you so much for providing this benefit. I don't get that in any of the benefits that I've had experience working with. But this one, I hear that feedback all the time.
It's really interesting. And we have listeners of the show all over the world. And in the US, it hasn't been as common for employers to provide a meal benefit. But around the world, payroll and meal voucher cards have been in broad use for a really long time. Now it's starting to grow in the US. Why is that?
You know, I think there's a few different reasons. And one of them is right now businesses are turning to food because it's an essential item and it's comforting. Food not only gives you energy, but it helps you heal and it builds a sense of well-being. So with meal cards and this type of benefit, what employers are starting to realize is that they have this ability to spend exactly where they want, right? So food and nothing else. So there's no chance you're going to get this allowance for food is going to get spent on something else, a new TV, what have you, as distractions we need right now. And by raising their employees' budget for food, employers can enable their workforce to make healthier choices. There's no guarantee that they're going to go out and make healthy choices every time, but we are building in some options, some controls that are in the benefit that will allow employers to tweak the cards a little bit so you can avoid transactions at fast food restaurants, as an example. And we're also working to make this meal a tax advantage plan. So a lot of our colleagues in Europe enjoy that tax advantage for these meal plans. And Edenred has been offering this benefit now for near on 50 years in Europe and in Asia as well. And they're really starting to see some benefits in different countries. Like, for example, in Portugal, 86% of the employees perceive food benefits as a motivational tool. In Slovakia, 81% of employees say food benefits provide a balanced diet for better work and performance. So really, there's just benefit from offering this food to your employees that I think there's just nothing else quite like it.
I think the formula, as you describe it, is healthy, well-fed workers means productive, happy workers. And that's basically what it comes down to. Now, as you think about this platform of Meal Ticket, it seems to me there are lots of other ways that you could drive engagement for your employees if you're an employer. What are some of the next items on your product roadmap for Meal Ticket? Will you add additional services like maybe offers and special discounts? And I think you said that employees can even add value to their card. So there's going to be a part that's funded by the employer, but maybe you want to give the employee the opportunity to add money to the card as well. Can you talk a little bit about your product roadmap and what's coming next?
Yeah, absolutely. So you hit the nail right on the head there, Silvio. I mean, what we're looking at right now is a program that, while it's just getting started for us here in the US, most of the clients that we're working with today are providing this as a subsidy, right? It's just the employers contributing funds. But we see this as growing to a point where employees can also contribute a balance to their card. But really to incentivize them to do so, especially right now, finding ways to make your money go a little bit further is top of mind for a lot of us. So coming in and working with the team over at CardLinx, and the members of the CardLinx program has been a huge hit for us. You've got to start it off really quickly. And so we're talking with a number of different members to figure out where it works best for us to add loyalty and rewards to the program. And this is going to be a way, again, to get users of the card to find additional value. And that's the name of the game, to find more and more ways to add value to our cardholders and the employers that sponsor these programs.
Now, a little bit more about Edenred. You act and behave in the U.S. market like a scrappy startup company that you would find in any corner of Silicon Valley. But in reality, you're a big global company listed on the Paris Stock Exchange that's been around for decades. Tell me a little bit more about Edenred and what you guys do.
Sure. So Edenred is a leading services and payments platform. We pride ourselves on being an everyday companion for people at work. And we've got approximately 5,000 employers that we're working with, a little over 35 years of experience, and about 9 million eligible employees that are using our benefits worldwide. Edenred is based out of Paris, France, where our HQ is. And we've spread across the globe really at this point. And I would say most of the countries that each individual business unit within the Edenred family tends to operate kind of, as you mentioned, as its own entity in a sense. There's this entrepreneurial spirit, which I think really is pervasive throughout all the different business units. So any opportunity to have to connect with colleagues in other countries, that's the one thing I think I always come away with as a key trait is they're just scrappy startups, right? They're really gunning hard to try and do as much as they possibly can for their customers and really grow their business.
Well, Scott, thank you for sharing with us the really exciting program that Edenred provides to employers in the U.S. It's been great to learn the insights and how these products really just make 2020, which has been a really challenging year, just a little bit easier for both employers and employees in the U.S. and around the world. Thank you for sharing your insights, Scott.
Thank you so much for having us, Silvio. We really appreciate the opportunity, and we're really excited about becoming a new member at CardLinx.
Thank you, Scott. That's Scott Burke, Director of Innovation with Edenred, talking to us from just outside Boston, Massachusetts. Coming right up, some closing thoughts on meals and FinTech. One silver lining that has resulted from the pandemic is that many of us have begun to appreciate more of the simple things we once took for granted. For example, a walk in the park with an old friend, a fun, spontaneous weekend trip, or just the ability to get together with family and friends for a Thanksgiving meal. Because of the pandemic, many people are really getting back to basics. As we've learned on today's podcast, One key and very basic method to curry favor with employees and get them re-engaged is to offer them a free meal. While the way to do it has gotten much more high-tech, including the use of a debit card and an app, the fundamental formula is still quite powerful. Show your employees you care by caring for them. Who knew employee engagement could be so simple? For FinTech Friday from the CardLinx Association, take care of yourself and take care of each other. God bless you. This is Silvio Tavares, signing off.